Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for registering for this session. I hope you guys find it informative. Today, as the screen says, we're discussing self-advocacy. Specifically, we're talking about supporting self-advocacy, both at the provincial level and the local level. So we're going to be talking about a number of things today. We're going to discuss the survey results, the survey that was out back in 2023. Also, we're going to be talking about, I'll be reporting on the discussions I've had across the province with individuals and with self-advocacy groups across the province. And just want to take an opportunity for those people on the call today that had some of those discussions with me. Just want to thank you for all the support. I've enjoyed the discussions, and I hope people got something from the discussions or as well. I'm also going to provide, or we're going to provide, an update on the council and go through some of our priorities and recent actions that we've taken. Plus, I want to spend some time focused on direction forward. You know, the reason why we did this, the survey and the consultations that we've had, is to grow the grassroots of self-advocacy across the province. And this is a good start, I think. I'll get into the numbers in a minute of who I met with, and again, starting it off really well, I think, in terms of next steps. So I hope to get through the presentation in 45 minutes, along with our team helping here today, and then we can open it up for questions people may have, or at least further discussion. So some of you know me, obviously. I've been around for a while, but some of you may not know me. So just a quick bio. Most important for today is I've been supporting and consulting with council for about 10 years now, which I love. I retired about 4 years ago, and I've continued on in my role of supporting the council. Prior to that, I was director at Community Living Ontario for 10 years. Prior to that, director at Brampton Caledon Community Living. And even prior to that, I was an APSW in Toronto and a manager at the APSW program. So I have a wonderful team here helping me out and contributing to this conversation. And I wonder if we could start with you, Nicole, and just saying hello and introducing yourself.
Hi, everyone. I am Nicole Sten. I am the council president of the council of CLO, and thank you for having me.
Thanks, Nicole. Chris?
Good morning, everyone. Chris Beasley. I'm the CEO here at Community Living Ontario, and I'm also a parent.
Great. Payal?
Thanks. Hello, everyone. My name is Payal Khazanchi. I'm the Director of Inclusion Initiatives, and thank you for taking out time to attend this session with us.
Lashona?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Lashona Leonard, and I am the Community Engagement Coordinator, and I support the Council of Community Living Ontario, as well as the Youth Advisory Committee.
Excellent. Now, I know, Lashona, you're not going to be speaking today other than what you just did, but she's been a tremendous help in putting this presentation together and helping me today too. So that's wonderful. Next page, Lashona. Okay, so let's first talk about the outreach that Community Living Ontario and Council has been involved in, especially over the last few years. So over the past few years, CLO, Community Living Ontario, has received inquiries from membership organizations asking how to increase the role and effectiveness of self-advocacy within their association. So in response, we have taken part in numerous consultations and discussions. So this is prior to the survey. And I think most agencies connected with us because they could they've witnessed the growth of council, council's effectiveness, their influence within the province with advocacy. And we're glad to share some of our learnings from the process that we've gone through with council. We're extremely proud of council. So when we've met in those times, we've always said there's no right, there's no wrong in terms of how you do self-advocacy. We're learning just like everyone else, and we respect the traditions of local organizations and how they've developed advocacy, as you'll see in the numbers and reporting back from the survey. People do their groups and do self-advocacy in all sorts of ways, and we think that's great. We don't want to, come on like we have a philosophical approach to self-advocacy. We're just interested in making sure that it's effective. Next page, please. So last year, I think I mentioned earlier, in terms of our interest in growing our grassroots and sort of picking up on the fact that a lot of people were calling us to ask about self-advocacy, ask about council, how they could become more involved and effective. So last year, we put out a survey on self-advocacy and participated in follow-up discussions with all groups or all organizations that were interested. So in the survey, I've had discussions with about 20 organizations, either by Zoom or in person. I've also met with a number of self-advocacy groups through that process, not just administrators. And prior to that, like I said, the few years prior, we met with, actually about the 2 years prior to the survey, we met with at least 10 organizations and did a consult with them. So from what you're hearing today, we've heard from over and had discussions with over 30 organizations, self-advocacy groups to come to our summaries that we're going to present today. So today's presentation will provide a general summary of the survey findings and discussion. So I'll provide a summary of the numbers, observations I've made through those discussions and the numbers. And finally, at the end, towards the end of the presentation, we'll put some recommendations together in terms of what we would like to do going forward and what we've heard from organizations saying that they would, what they would like from us. Again, our efforts to engage at the grassroots level. We think there's tons of potential to grow this movement. One other thing I wanted to say about the consultations we've done and the survey that we did, as far as I know, and maybe later in this presentation somebody could say if they know differently, we don't think that there's ever been an attempt to kind of gather the level of interest of self-advocacy or the amount of self-advocacy, the number of self-advocacy groups across the province. Again, I think it's growing. I've been quite surprised and pleased that I've met with groups that I didn't even know existed, and they've been clicking along there for years and years. So it's excellent in terms of the progress I think we've made in finding that out. So next, Lashona, please. So I just said there's no right or wrong, but here's the one thing that I think that our work with council, we've truly learned. This is the main message I've shared during those consultations. For self-advocacy efforts within your organization to be successful and impactful, a full commitment is needed from everyone involved in the organization. This means the CEO or the ED, board members, staff, volunteers, everyone. Self-advocacy needs to be an integral part of your organization. So I say this, again, I said there's no right or wrong, but I think this is all about inclusion, right? And that's what the community living movement as you know, is all about. So it would be a mistake, I think, to have your self-advocacy group meet once a month. Maybe a staff member helps support it. But then there's never a report, never any communication between the other people of the organization. So it's the only time I think I get kind of preachy during this, but I think it was a process that the council itself went through. Council has been with Community of Ontario for 25 years. It's always been an incredibly strong force, but we purposely wanted to improve or increase our profile and improve our effectiveness in our advocacy. We wanted to make sure and be very clear of what our priorities were, and we wanted to take action. We wanted to further develop our relationship with our staff, with board members, and we really did that. We did it, I think, effectively, and it shows in terms of the higher profile that the council has now. So that's the end of my preachy part. I say there's no right or wrong, but inclusion is obviously right, and I think I have approval by everybody on the call. Next slide. I'm the only person who calls it a slide. Next page. Nicole, I wonder if you could take the next 2 pages for us.
I am most happy to take over a while.
Thank you, Nicole.
You're welcome, Keith. Apparently, the Council of Community Living Ontario are 12 elected self-advocates from across the province who work together within the Community Living Ontario sector and their membership to find solutions and share information, which means that we take what the council could improve and what CLO can improve. We do this by sharing our opinions, our knowledge, our experience, and by taking action, meaning we both have the same vision, same values, we have a same line of thinking with CLO, and we work together and collaboratively we work together and we create a beautiful presentation or a beautiful seminar. Thank you.
Thanks.
Also I say next slide. Yes. As the council, we also have a priority list. And those items are so basically, council works together with CLO, board, and staff in solving important issues, such as poverty, which is the #1 issue right now, as well as the safety and affordable housing, along with human rights, that is barriers to quality healthcare, that follows the education and employment, and of course, abuse, which everyone who are labeled with an intellectual disabilities are very much more how can I say this? Vulnerable position. Very easy target to get at.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. And just picking up on what Nicole said there, these priorities have really been the driving force of council in terms of the work council does. That was part of the reimagining of what council's all about 10 years ago. A real priorities-focused agenda and follow-up action to that. So moving beyond just talking about it amongst ourselves. Talking about it amongst ourselves is important, and I think we're good at that. But we also stress the action that we take in terms of making sure we do everything we can to support our concerns, to support the concerns of our membership. So, Payal, I think you're up next on the agenda.
Yeah, thanks, Keith. Yes, so I will provide an overview of the advocacy efforts undertaken by our council members over the past year. In last September, our council members facilitated 2 presentations at Community Living Ontario's conference at Ottawa. The topics were what it means to be a self-advocate and intentional about community with regards to poverty and housing. During the same conference, our council members also delivered a presentation at the Provincial Executive Directors Group meeting, focusing on the Council of Community Living Ontario and their advocacy work. Our council's proposal was approved for the Speaking Out conference last year as well, where they facilitated 2 presentations highlighting crucial issues surrounding poverty, housing, and the vital role of self-advocacy in addressing these challenges. In addition to the conference presentations, our council also collaborated with our community living member organizations to organize both webinars in person as well as virtually. The objective of these presentations was to bring together and amplify the voices of self-advocates from various regions of the province, thereby fostering cohesion and influence on matters affecting people who have disabilities. To name a few, we collaborated with Community Living Oshawa, Community Living Toronto, New Visions Advocate at London, Caris Disability Services, Community Living Norfolk, and Community Living York South. Last year, our council members also traveled to Timmins and presented to the local community, demonstrating their commitment to promote inclusion and share insights about their advocacy work with a wider audience across Ontario. This year, in the month of March, 2 of our council members delivered a speech about the importance of receiving quality supports at the Inclusion Symposium. And this year in March as well, council members received an invitation to lead a presentation at Fanshawe College in London, addressing postgraduate students enrolled in gerontology course. This presentation focused on the vital topic of long-term care and aging in place, offering valuable insights into maintaining independence and improving quality of life for people with disabilities as they age. Next slide, please, Lashana. In January this year, we were invited by Community Living North Bay to facilitate a presentation on the truths of institutionalization. One of our council members from North Bay itself, along with another Community Living Ontario's board member, facilitated this in-person presentation that aimed to shed light on the historical realities and ongoing impact of institutionalization on people with disabilities in Canada. This presentation included personal narratives, historical context, and advocacy efforts surrounding the closure of institutions, emphasizing the importance of community-based supports and inclusive practices. The Council of Community Living Ontario has been actively advocating for people with disabilities in educational institutions such as schools and colleges, covering a diverse range of topics related to disability rights, inclusion, and community living. Their efforts aim to raise awareness and promote the rights and inclusion of people with disabilities. This proactive approach underscores their commitment to grassroots engagement and collaboration, thereby promoting positive change in our communities. Through a combination of virtual and in-person presentations, the Council has succeeded in reaching a wide audience across the province, fostering dialogue and promoting a deeper understanding of the challenges faced by people who have disabilities. By facilitating meaningful discussions and presentations at both local and regional levels, our council members contribute significantly to raising awareness, driving positive change, and empowering communities to embrace diversity and inclusion. Thank you.
Thanks, Payal. Chris, you are up next in terms of talking about our most recent activities in terms of Community Living Month and the involvement with council.
Great, thanks, Keith. Happy Community Living Month, everyone. Yeah, I guess I want to talk about both the opportunity and the responsibility we as support organizations have in collaborating with and amplifying the voice or what I would call the first voice, the voice we should be paying attention first when we think about advocacy and inclusion. So two recent things we've been working on, most of you probably are aware of the 5 to Survive campaign that we ran last fall and early into the spring before the provincial budget. And that was a great opportunity to work with council and others with that first voice of lived experience in accessing some of those media opportunities. And so having that perspective and having the stories of people really drove home our message and had the most impact of, I would suggest, any of us who were out there having interviews and talking about the need for further investment in this sector. For this month, hashtag CL Month 2024. That's also a plug for everyone here to get on board with that. But again, council is integral to participating in and pushing out that hashtag and participating at local events. We, this past Wednesday was our annual day at the legislature. Again, council was front and center at that event, and we're able to. Nicole spoke at our reception where the minister was attending. We also had a council meeting that was set up with both Minister Parsa and Charmaine Williams, who's the Associate Minister of Women's Social and Economic Opportunity. Unfortunately, Minister Parsa wasn't feeling very well. He was in the House in the legislature in the morning. He had to take a bit of a break, so wasn't able to be at the meeting, but then he did come back to the reception and participated there. So Minister Williams co-led the meeting with Nicole, and there was a roundtable discussion, and I was just hoping, Nicole, if you could sort of talk about the themes that you brought forward and council brought forward at that meeting, and just your thoughts about how that meeting went and day at the legislature. Over to you.
I am honored to do the report. On May 8th was, okay, let me try that again. May 8th was a busy and successful day. It was amazing to see all the self-advocates out talking to their local MPPs and asking questions. There were groups from Prince Edward County, Belleville, London, Toronto, Oxbridge, and Northumberland. I heard several people talking about the things they were able to discuss with the ministers, such as OTSP, transportation, not enough doctors, and the need for more money in the passport and special services at home programs. The council was able to meet with Honorable Charmaine Williams and the team of Minister Michael Prosser, which was led by Logan, the administrative assistant for Minister Prosser. The topics were discussed were poverty, employment, and abuse. We wanted to make sure the ministry understands that all parts of our lives are affected by poverty. It's harder to be healthy, to gain skills, and to be out in the community when we don't have enough money for food and rent. Charmaine Williams and Logan responded to each of the topics. the atmosphere was really positive, and they asked good questions. They asked us to clarify things they didn't understand, which I appreciated. One example was a discussion of flaws, underwear, and menstrual supplies, which the main Williams did not realize are not covered by OTSP. I felt like I felt they were listening to us, but it didn't seem like they were responding to the topics directly. It was a positive meeting because the council was able to open the eyes and educate the administration about the issues that continue to affect our lives. Isolate us and leave us vulnerable to abuse. The reception was very energetic, and there were a lot of comments about how helpful it is to hear from people who have lived experience. The council was amazing. All of us brought our creative ideas and were very encouraging to one another. We stayed on time. We stuck to the script, and we helped each other so that we were able to cover all the topics and finish with a positive attitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Chris. One of the great results from that meeting, from the day as well, was Minister Parsa had said to a few members of the council that he'd love to be part of one of our council Zoom calls. So I thought that was amazing, and I think indicative of the effectiveness and the professionalism and the preparedness of council. Let's go to the next page. Okay, here are the survey results from the survey we sent to our, I think it's 119 members now. Is it? We're still at one. We're still. I mean, it seems like it increases every single week. Maybe when we sent it out, it was like 112, but we now have 119 member organizations. So 58 of the 119 responded, which I think is pretty good. Response. 38 members reported, of the 38 of the 58 reported that they have a self-advocacy group within their community. So again, this is not a scientific study, but a good start. I suspect there's many more. I did go through all of the responses, and I do know that there are a number of agencies that didn't respond to the survey, but in fact do have self-advocacy groups. So I suspect at least it's well over 40, and plus we're not considering organizations that are not currently, but maybe future members of Community Living Ontario. 20 members reported to have no self-advocacy groups within their community. Self-advocacy groups ranged in size from 6 to 50 members. So that's not really indicative of the strength of each group. Some organizations do things differently. Some invite everybody that they support, which is fantastic. Some organizations are more specific to those that have expressed an interest in starting a self-advocacy group. Page. More facts and figures. Of the 38 self-advocacy groups, 6 groups were reported to be functioning independently. 32 groups were reported to be supported through their agency. So this is rather, it's subjective. Some people's interpretation of how, being independent, not independent, differs from the other. So numbers, I think, need to have a little bit more fine tuning. And besides, we're accepting of all. Of the 38 self-advocacy groups, 26 groups reported to have an elected chair, 12 groups do not. Again, no judgment there. Board representation. So the survey also asked questions about, do you have a person identifying themselves as a self-advocate or a person with an intellectual disability on your board? 38 members organizations say they have at least one self-advocate on their board. 23 members report to elect their board representatives, and 6 appoint their representative on the board. Again, whatever works for you, but good numbers. I suspect more. I'm glad to say there's also organizations out there that have had self-advocates as their president of their association, including Community Living Ontario, Michael Jocks, who is our past board president. Okay. I'm gonna try to go through this fairly quickly. As I promised, we hope to have 15 minutes at the end. Let me rearrange my papers here. This is a survey question survey questions and responses. So I just went through the numbers. These were questions on the survey that asked for people's opinions. So what's the group's purpose? The predominant response was to provide advocacy, to become a voice for all, to have a say on important issues. Second most popular response was promote awareness, promote inclusion and equality of opportunity in the community. So keep in mind that that's what people have said. This is the thing we do most, but a lot of our organizations, including council, does a combination of both, really, one and the same. 3, self-supporting and learning together was the main purpose, to provide a place where people can speak freely with each other on topics that are important. And 4th, provide an important function to the agency, a platform to express concerns regarding support, how to improve supports, also fill practical roles like being a part of the hiring process. So, what I kind of learned from this and my discussions with people too, there's kind of apart from these clear purposes, self-advocacy can also take different forms as an organization. So some self-advocacy groups are kind of internal. All right, they're an advocacy group with a focus mostly on the supports and services and the quality of those supports and services of their own organization. Others are more focused on the community and the local issues of their town or their city, plus being involved on a provincial level, which we're going to try to inspire as well. So there's that as well. And again, sort of there's a combination of many groups that advocate internally within the organization and externally with their community. What is your group's priorities? So I kind of noticed that some of the responses here, people kind of not necessarily confused, but answered the same. Purpose and priorities were kind of thought of as one and the same. But the number one thing, advocating on the priority being advocating on important issues: public transportation, ODSP, affordable housing, access to passport funding, rights for disabled person, and self-determination. So it's important to note that these issues, although very similar across the province, they're very, very different between, for instance, large urban areas or medium-sized urban areas and smaller towns and rural areas. So public transportation might be an issue, but in smaller towns, the issue might be there is no public transportation, where in a larger community, access to public transportation, the quality of, and that those examples go on. Affordable housing, for instance, and accessible housing. Sometimes in some smaller communities, there's no there's no housing options whatsoever, especially accessible. Where in large towns, it could be also the concern is the extraordinary cost of housing. Second priority, participation in community events to educate others. This is done generally in a very advocating sort of way. You know, I met with one organization, and they did a day, I think it was during Community Living Month, actually last year, where they actually got a piece of wood and printed the R word on the piece of wood and buried it in the town. With the idea that eventually that piece of wood is going to rot into the ground, just like us not using that R word anymore. A great public event, a great community thing that brings everybody together. Advocacy at the same time, and originality, I think. So maybe some other people could steal that idea. I don't know, but I thought that was wonderful. 3, fundraising and to socialize. Really cool stuff that people are doing and being part of growing their own organization. And also self-advocacy can be fun. And then finally, to educate members of the advocacy group and determine what is important, figure out how to advocate. Again, I think this is great, although I do warn that we really need to move beyond educating people to advocate. People are natural advocates, I think, and especially, like I said, with council, once we got our issues and concerns together, we were able to do that effectively. And I think you learn by doing, you know, rather than always preparing somebody, always somebody in educational mode. I've said to a few groups, just do it. Pick a night, pick an issue, just do it. You'll learn a ton. That's the best education you can get. Reach out, speak to people. Okay. I think I got 5 minutes to wrap up 74 pages. No, there's not 74 pages. A few more pages, and we'll get the discussion going. What would you like Community Living Ontario to know was asked on the survey, and I asked in person. So self-advocacy, people wanted to let us know that self-advocacy is an important component of the work that agencies do. I believe it's a growing force of the community living movement. I think we can, I think we've established raising the voice and of each and every person. But I think there's great merit in raising our collective voices too, as the entire society does. Self-advocacy groups reflect the core values of the organization, the community living movement. And people are proud to support self-advocacy, and that is evident through the 30+ organizations I have met with over the last couple of years. Survey questions. Follow up to discussions I've heard, what I've heard, observations worth noting at the local level. So this is what I heard, and I sort of did a summary. Organizations are seeing the benefits of empowering people, not only on a one-to-one level, but collectively. I just made that point. Clearly, we saw that at the day of legislature, what Chris and Nicole just reported on. Government and support agencies are receptive to listening to the self-advocacy voice. Many self-advocacy groups remain vulnerable. So people are saying, our group remains vulnerable within our organization. Budget challenges, there a change of staff or a champion that really supports their self-advocacy group, and differences of opinion or philosophy between perhaps the group, a person, the staff, the board, that plays into it. I always suggest keep on talking, keep on working through it. Generally, people have the same goal, maybe just a different way to get around doing it. But you know, Community Living Ontario's council is just as vulnerable to some of these things. it's just important to work through it. And I would say, remember that point I made before, like get everybody involved, right? Shouldn't depend on one person leading that group and that person stepping down, because the executive director, the board president, the staff all know what the self-advocacy group's doing, and they can move things forward when things get a little bit shaky. Fairly consistent. Finally, what they must know: fairly consistent differences between large agencies and small agencies, urban and rural, regarding structure and priorities. I talked a little bit about that relating to issues, and Community Living Ontario needs to learn a lot more in regards to large organizations, small organizations, big communities, small communities, rural communities, in terms of council's advocacy and what we speak up for people. At least we have to have a good knowledge of people's concerns. Next. Observations of council's role. What people have told me during our conversations. So members feel that the CLO Council has grown in strength to become an effective advocacy group for voice for people. Self-advocacy groups are growing in strength at the local level, but do not have a history of acting in a coordinated provincial level. Again, that's what we're interested in terms of the information that we have and moving forward, so people can advocate in more a strong, clear way, and be informed of what council is doing at the provincial level, and us being aware of what's happening locally. And people are saying to me the growth potential of self-advocacy movement is significant. As a matter of fact, people have told me that one of the major reasons why they are members with Community Living Ontario is the work that we do around self-advocacy. When they come to conference, when they see presentations online, they think, what other organization does that? And we're interested only in increasing that. Moving forward, Community Living Ontario Self-Advocacy Survey, along with consultations, have been helpful in learning more about self-advocacy movement. It appears that work like this has not been done previously. Local self-advocacy groups can benefit from a more collaborative approach, which we've talked about. Many believe a strategy of developing a consistent communication with local groups would be both welcomed and beneficial to all. I talked about how we've, I think, progressed over the years in terms of our priorities, in terms of our action. One of the things that we probably could get better at, it's not a criticism, I think it's the next stage, is our communication with our members and drawing them in and increasing the strength. So moving forward, where am I? Encourage discussion and feedback from local self-advocacy groups, promote advocacy objectives and work plan, work collaboratively with Community Living Ontario in promoting various initiatives, such as the 5 to Survive campaign, provide consultation. We're going to continue to do that. I will continue to do that. Pael, Chris, Lashona, anybody, or Nicole, especially, and self-advocates themselves are glad to participate in those consultations. So here, finally, the to-do of what we want to accomplish moving forward. So these are clear things we want to do. We want to create a distribution list for professionals and primary contacts who support self-advocacy. We also want to create a distribution list for self-advocacy groups and leaders, not to segregate, but I think those two lists do different things. We want to make sure EDs and directors are aware of the activities of the promotions going forward, of what we'd like you to contribute to. The distribution list for self-advocates, we want to make sure that there's discussion, dialogue going on, and we think if we develop that list, that can happen. I'm going to provide 3-month updates from council with the support of CLO. We're going to be pushing those out more. You can actually look at our website, the Community Living Ontario Council page. You can find that update there. We're just going to get better. Instead of you coming to us, we'll come to you. Ensure updates are included in other communications, such as Update Friday. We do a bit of that. We want to do more. Updates will include announcing and reporting on council activities, including webinars, presentations, speeches, council board reports, meetings, council position statements, And coming up actually soon is the council elections. We'll provide information on that for you if you want to become a council member and how you come up for election, or if you just simply want to vote and being part of that in the process. That material will be coming out shortly. And finally, here we go. I just want to promote or actually, Nicole, would you like to promote the session we have coming up? Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on a spot, but go ahead.
No, it's all right. Don't worry about it. I have my script here.
Oh,
Thankfully.
okay. All right.
Yes. Well, today is okay, so the title is a forum of self-advocates and self-advocate groups throughout the province. That is to strengthening the community living self-advocacy movement. Yes. I don't know what else to say.
That's perfect.
Keith, it's back to you now.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. So of course, everybody's welcome, but it's the more focus. We were saying that in terms of dialogue, and council will be presenting that that seminar, and I believe it will also include some of the stats that I've talked about today. So I think that's it. Oh, we have 10 minutes for any questions. I know I spoke fast there at the end, but please visit the webpage as I talked about. Subscribe to the Community Living Ontario weekly newsletter update Friday. I know a number of you already have done that. And kindly reach out to, I like that, please be kind to Keith D. and Payel. And that's the end of our conversation. I saw something come up while I was talking away there. But do people have any comments, questions? Were there any comments put in, Lashona, to the it's always hard to be the first person to ask a question. Is there anything I said that you'd like clarification on, or Nicole or Payel or Chris? No.
I guess Teresa had a
Oh, did she?
a comment
Yeah, right.
in the chat. Was just, I think it was, around, it's important to, yes, it's important to strengthen the voice of self-advocates, but how you do it is really important. So that to not do it for people, but to be with people, to support people so that they have the control over their voice and how to build up their strength as groups. Is that right, Teresa?
Yeah, you are right, Chris, because you know why? If the staff's doing it for us or speaking for us, how are we going to be able to strengthen our voice and show people that we can do stuff? We maybe do it in a different way, but like I always say, let's work together and learn from each other, because when it's the staff's doing it constantly for you, you're not learning from the self-advocates. And I think it's very important for agencies, parents, that they learn off their loved ones or the people that they work for. Because if we weren't there, then they wouldn't know what we're thinking and what we're capable of doing. And when you're taking the strength away from people, then you're not allowing us to reach our dreams and goals and being able to maybe teach in another way.
Thank you, Teresa. Important important words. I think that making sure that people are included in the advocacy efforts it just brings so much more to the real important work that we do. I just know, I just looked, oh, it was part of the script that we had for the minister a couple of days ago. And I think by just listening and going through a process with people, we found things that the council, people, that live the life of a person in receipt of supports, that kind of thing. They expressed a different perspective. They expressed concerns that perhaps I would not have mentioned to the minister. Talked about, for instance, the vulnerability of new staff coming in and helping with their personal support and how humiliating that can be sometimes. And items like that came as a result of discussion through the council, and we're given the freedom to mention those types of things. So again, I'm not sure if those kind of things ever get mentioned to a minister, but the council mentioned it, and that's so key. And I think that talks to what Teresa's saying. Let us say it. It'll be much more effective. I think probably more important too. It's a whole process to go through it. It's not something I can't call Nicole or Teresa and say, hey, what's your opinion on this? I need to give you this opinion in 2 minutes to somebody calling. It's a process. You have to take your time. You have to do it respectfully. You have to be purposeful. You have to be consistent, and the communication will just flow. Thank you, Teresa, for those words. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay. All right. Well, if there's no one else, just want to thank people for listening in today. I appreciated the time that you gave us, and you can always contact me or anybody else that spoke today, and we'd be glad to get back to you. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Nicole. And Kira.
I got on with, okay, sorry about that. There's a couple of people who wrote in after Teresa, like Michael Salz. He
Okay.
says, great presentation, everyone, Keith, you rock.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Michael. That's nice.
Yes. Kim Sparrow also wrote saying that is the ultimate loss. If self-advocates aren't there, service agencies won't know what they are thinking about. Thanks, Teresa.
Okay. Thank you.
I know there's a lot more.
And there's Yvonne at the bottom saying we need to keep on hearing these presentations. Kira, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I was just giving a round of applause.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right, great. Okay. All right. So that's wonderful, everybody. And thank you again. And I hope to see you at some of you at the presentation next week, and conferences coming up, Speaking Out conference in October. So please come and say hello if you see us. Okay. Thank you now. Bye-bye.